the next question arguably was the worst of them all. Arguably. And I'm getting so upset. I'm schwitzing. I'm sweating. Look at me. It's so hot in here. My air conditioning's not great. But look at this next question.
The question I have for you, though, is how do you convince some 80% of Americans who do get health care from their employer that it is worth rejiggering the system again? That seems to be the other challenge here, because as you know, people that get employer-based private insurance are basically happy with their insurance. The people that are not happy are those in that other 20%.
What? What? Wait a minute. So, Chuck Todd, did you just hear this? He said, well, as you know, people who get their health care from their employer are basically happy. What poll are you citing, Chuck Todd? Maybe you, who's a $1 million anchor at NBC and MSNBC, I'm sure you have delightful health care. I'm sure that not only do you not have to pay much, but they give you gold chocolate bars when you go for your colonoscopy. I'm sure that you and your cohorts have great health insurance. I remember when I worked at MSNBC, the health insurance was terrific. Praise you, MSNBC, for giving good, or Comcast, for good health insurance. But I don't know. I don't want to blow up TYT spot. I get health insurance from TYT. I got a very high deductible. I got high copays. I have high co-insurance. I'm sure many of you watching, if you have employer-based health care, still pay a hell. Are you happy with your employer-based health care? So in America, you pay per paycheck just for the right to use your health insurance. Then you have to pay a deductible. It could go from $1,000 on the low end to $5,000 for deductible just to access your health care. Then you have to pay copays. But Chuck Todd, let me say that one more time, because it's very scientific what he's saying, right?
The average employer who has a worker who makes $50,000 a year is spending $13,000 a year on health insurance for that worker. The worker himself or herself is spending $5,000, $18,000. Now, if our plan goes into effect, that $13,000 private insurance premium disappears for the employer. It goes down. The amount of money that the worker is now spending, that $5,000, goes down. We replace private insurance premiums with Medicare premiums. The average middle-class worker saves money.
Well, I guess the question I have for you, though, is how do you convince some 80% of Americans who do get health care from their employer that it is worth rejiggering the system again? That seems to be the other challenge here, because as you know, people that get employer-based private insurance are basically happy with their insurance. The people that are not happy are those in that other 20%.
First of all, 80% get employer-based health insurance? Again, what poll, what statistic are you talking about? Because half these unemployment numbers, a lot of them are part-time jobs where you don't have health insurance. So, first of all, I'd like to see the statistic of 80%. 80% get employer health care? That's number one. Number two, but as you know, Bernie, no, tell me, Chuck, how do we know that 80% who get employer-based health care like their health care? Because I'm reading the comments right now on little old TYT politics, and I'd say 90% of what I'm reading don't like their health care. And you're damn right I got the towel out, Jake. It's hot in here, and I'm getting annoyed because this is the corporate media propaganda machine trying to brainwash their viewers and trying to depict. Forget Bernie. I don't care that it's Bernie putting this forward. I was just in Europe. Freedom is alive and well in Europe. There's no tyranny. People have health care, and there's cafes, and people are out and about and living and liking life. At least where I was. But Chuck Todd, first he says, first question, well, why are you helping the Republicans? Second question, well, how are you going to pay for this? Even though I never asked how are you going to pay for wars and tax cuts and deregulation and oil subsidies and all the goodies. How are you going to pay for it, Bernie? And then, as you know, Bernie, 80% like their employer-based health care. No, Chuck, I don't know that because there's no statistic that says that. There is no statistic that says 80% who have employer-based health care like their health insurance. Because if that were the case, why would Medicare for All be polling so highly? Why would 46% of Republicans say they want Medicare for All? and an overwhelming amount of independents and an overwhelming amount of Democrats. Why, if 80% get their health insurance through their employer, liked it, why would they want Medicare for all? You know what this actually is? This is Chuck Todd, who never leaves his DC little bubble, who gets lovely health insurance, saying, well, I like my health insurance, Bernie, so how are you going to convince me? And I didn't do this video personally to attack Chuck Todd. I don't give a shit about Chuck Todd. I don't really know Chuck Todd that well. We had a couple tweets now and then. I interviewed him once at a prior job. Chuck Todd is a dime a dozen of corporate gas bags. It's not just about Chuck Todd. But you see these interviews from out-of-touch corporate journalists who, A, probably didn't even read the damn bill, and B, be consistent. I have no problem with them asking Bernie tough questions. No problem with them asking Bernie how you're going to pay for it. But why is it only the time to ask how are you going to pay for something when it's something that might help average people? Why is that the time we ask? And what is this bullshit propaganda that 80% love their health care? Well, let me tell you, if you are working a full-time job and you get employer-based health insurance, but you're not making enough money in your salary, or your wages have been stagnant for 20 years, which is the case in America, so you're basically living paycheck to paycheck. You're still paying your student loan debt, right? You're paying your mortgage, you're paying all that, you haven't gotten a raise in 20 years, and you got money taken out of your paycheck, every paycheck, just for the right to use your health insurance, and you have a deductible, $1,000 to $5,000, and you have co-insurance, and you have co-pays. How much do you like your employer-based health insurance? Tell me. By the way, I had surgery, looking at my big red nose right now. I had surgery last year to enlarge my nasal cavity because I was having a hard time with sinuses and stuff. I have health insurance. You know how much the bill was from the hospital? $2,000. And that's on the low end. That's on the low end that I only had to pay $2,000. And by the way, I told them to go fuck themselves. I still haven't paid it. Sam Siegel, come over here. Am I just being theatrical, or do I have a point?
No, I think you have a very good point. I mean, basically, the corporate media is not trying to shake anything up in terms of the establishment and what they're controlling right now.
Hold on.
The corporate media just wants the status quo. That's all they want. They don't want anything to be shaken up. And they realize that Bernie has a pretty good chance right now of not getting it passed through this Congress, but gaining a lot of steam. He's got some of the most prominent senators, Kamala Harris, Warren, you guys know the list. Anyway, so they realize that this guy is, it's not even about that this bill's picking up steam. They realize that he's picking up influence within the Democratic Party. For a while, they didn't realize, well, maybe he'll still just be an outsider after this election. They cost Clinton the election, yada, yada, yada. Everybody wants to stoke these flames with him and Kamala Harris and yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, Kamala Harris came on and signed on to co-sponsor Bernie Sanders' bill, which makes people wonder, maybe they'll go and co-sponsor other bills. Maybe they'll get behind other legislation that he puts forth. So I think what you're seeing right now is the corporate media getting very worried that this guy is building a lot of influence, not just with his own base and his fans and whatever. He's also building a base within the Democratic Party.
Thank you, Sam, for that insightful thing. And you know, I got to keep it real for a second. I know this isn't going to get me in trouble. I'm not attacking Bernie Sanders, but tough love. Like, Bernie, if you're watching, stop going on Meet the Press. Stop going on these shows. I'm not saying that because I want to interview you, which I do, but at a certain point, you're being taken advantage of. I understand that you want to talk to all voters and inform all voters, but at a certain point, they are not there to actually be honest arbiters, to give you a microphone and to inform their audience. They are there to sabotage you. That's what they did in the campaign, and they're still doing it. I'm not saying Bernie's naive. I'm sure he knows that Chuck Todd and the other people interviewing him have no interest in Medicare for all. But by gracing them with your presence, you are giving him credibility. And you only have 5 minutes on the topic. The rest of the interview was them trying to corner Bernie on, well, Hillary Clinton said this about you in a book. What do you think? And Bernie, as Bernie would, said, I don't want to talk about what Hillary Clinton said in a book. It's really unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. So let me play you a little bit more, because Chuck Todd also doesn't correct Hillary Clinton's bullshit.
I was arguing with my supporters at the Denver convention in 2008 about why they had to quit complaining that I didn't win and get out and support Barack Obama. And I didn't get that respect from him and his supporters.
As you know, you've probably seen at least some excerpts of the book. I don't know if you've fully read it yet. But this is a consistent theme. She believes you didn't work hard enough to bring your supporters to the fold the way she did in 08, which is what she was pointing there. And if anything, your supporters may have undermined her candidacy in the general election. Do you accept that criticism?
I don't want to get into Hillary Clinton anymore because, you know, I do want to get into Hillary Clinton more because I want you to read chapter 3 of my book, Corporate Con Job, The Soft Bigotry of Hillary's Expectations. I trolled her last week. I released chapter 3 on the same day she released her book. I hope you'll read it. Chapter 3, you can download it at corporateconjob.com. You could also become a Patreon, donate if you choose. However, Chuck Todd didn't correct Hillary Clinton's lie. So Hillary Clinton acts like she gracefully bowed out of the 2008 primary and told her supporters to go support then Senator Obama. That is what we call in the business a lie. Hillary Clinton, till the last second, was trying to get superdelegates to switch over to her, even after she was mathematically eliminated. There are literally emails that show that. Hillary Clinton didn't gracefully bow out to support Barack Obama. She was fighting till the very last second because she did not want to lose. She did not want to bow out, which is fine. That's your right as a candidate. You could go as long as you want. There's no entitlement for Obama. You know, it's when the candidate chooses to drop out. But for Hillary Clinton to say, I didn't get the same respect from Sanders and his supporters than which I gave to Barack Obama, you didn't give Obama respect. You, after you were mathematically eliminated, tried to get superdelegates over to your side. So again, alternative facts, alternative history, and Chuck Todd didn't correct that lie. So let's hear what Bernie has to say.
No, I really don't. And I look, Chuck, right now we're focusing on health care, we're focusing on the doctor issue, we're focusing on infrastructure, high cost of prescription drugs. I don't think it's useful to go backwards. I think we've got to go forwards. But let me just say this. I worked as hard as I could. After endorsing Hillary Clinton, I went all over this country. And I would remind people, you know, people say, well, not everybody who voted for Bernie ended up voting for Hillary. No kidding. That's what happens in politics. If my memory is correct, in 2008, something like 24% of the people who voted for Hillary Clinton in the primaries ended up voting for John McCain. That's the nature of politics. Most people, you know, are not rigidly Democrats or Republicans. They vote where they want.
Bernie Sanders is saying, gee, gosh jolly, I couldn't force my supporters to vote for anybody. I wasn't going to tell them what to do. Bernie Sanders did suggest that they should vote for Hillary Clinton. Even though she wasn't his favorite person or candidate, he did suggest to his supporters to hold their nose and vote for her. And I know, because I went to cover it, he went around the country, city after city, holding his nose and campaigning for her. So Hillary Clinton's living in an alternative universe. Chuck Todd is living in an alternative universe filled with chocolate, mousse cake, and money. Because that's what it's about, folks. It's about the money, Lebowski. It's about the money. So this interview, I pointed out this interview because there's a lot of interviews like this, but this one to me was a textbook case of distortion, deceiving your audience, taking things out of context, trying to push a narrative to stop the masses and the audience from actually getting the right information. So shame on Chuck Todd, shame on NBC News, and I hope Bernie at some point learns his lesson. It doesn't mean you don't ever go on cable news, but Bernie goes on CNN, MSNBC, NBC News a lot, And I don't know what he's getting out of it. I really don't. I really don't. That's the deal, folks. Let me tell you a little bit about what TYT Politics is planning on doing and what I'm planning on doing. So we're heading into the fall. It is my 31st birthday. What's today, Monday? It's my 31st birthday Wednesday. So I'm feeling energized. I'm pushing 40 now. I don't have much to show for it other than a gut, not very well polished beard, and this terrific career, and you guys. But I think in September, Ty and I are going to be going back out on the road. I would like to go back to Flint, Michigan. I would like to go back to East Chicago, Indiana, because those stories are still very much a crisis, and the media is not covering it. And I would also like to do another disappearing middle class tour with a specific focus on poverty, going to some of the most impoverished communities in the country and telling you those people's stories that the corporate media will never, ever, ever show you. So we're going to be doing another disappearing middle class tour with a focus on poverty. I also think that Nomiki is going to be going a few places you might like. Obviously, we'll be covering what Bernie does. And there might be a few surprises in the works that I think you're going to like a lot. And Emma is obviously going to be doing stuff. So that's the fall preview. We're going to be doing another disappearing middle class tour. We're going to be, I'd say, getting back a little bit to our roots, shall I say. So that's the report. YouTube.com/TYTPolitics. For other videos, I have a few videos up from Berlin and Cologne. I was in Germany last week, where I talked to Europeans about their healthcare and the tyranny overtaking their life. And there's other videos up there. And that's it, folks. Thank you for watching. Again, my book, download it, corporateconjob.com. Become a Patreon, donate. Peace.